The movie begins in June of 1993 in the state of Georgia. Lisa, a woman grappling with haunting visions of her late mother, finds herself at a crossroads. These visions torment her to the point where she relies on medication to find some relief. She is sitting cross-legged on the bed when she sees her mother yet again. The woman calls out to her, telling her that she loves her and that there is something that she wants to tell her. But on this particular day, before the visions can escalate, her daughter, named Heidi, comes running inside. Lisa is startled when Heidi bursts in with excitement. The little girl excitedly shares a dream she had about a swing and asks if they can have one in their new house. Lisa smiles at her daughter and assures her that even if there isn't one, her daddy would put one up for her. It seems like the family is soon going to change their house. Soon after, we see the family moving into their new house out in the countryside. Lisa and Heidi arrive to find Andy, Lisa's husband, already there at Pine Mountain. Their new home is nestled in a serene wooded area, offering them a chance at a fresh start. They happily prepare to settle down into their new home. As they explore their surroundings, Heidi's innocent curiosity leads her to a mysterious encounter. Amidst the trees, Heidi spots a mysterious figure, a man donning a coat and a hat, observing her from afar. The man vanishes as a car honks nearby, momentarily distracting Heidi. She forgets all about it and runs down as she hears a honk, knowing her Aunt Joyce has arrived. They have a joyous reunion and Joyce helps ease her initial apprehension. As evening descends, Joyce confides in them about her recent breakup with a troubled married boyfriend. She found out both of these traits after a while of being together. She yearns to be closer to Lisa and Heidi, but Andy is reluctant to welcome her into their new house considering her drinking history. Joyce looks around and sees an empty park trailer. She inquires about it and Andy dismisses it as an abandoned wreck. However, surprisingly, Heidi says that it is not empty. She claims to have seen a girl living in a trailer park near their house. Right after saying this, she spots the mysterious girl leaving the trailer. Lisa looks at her daughter, worried, whereas Joyce, determined to stay close to her family, decides to make the trailer her temporary home. Later that night, when Lisa goes out to dispose of the trash, she hears sobbing and strange noises emanating from the nearby bushes. Creeped out, she goes to investigate, like every character in a horror movie would. There, she stumbles upon a charred body concealed in the underbrush. Startled, she quickly moves back. After a moment, much to her astonishment, the body vanishes into thin air, leaving Lisa bewildered and questioning the authenticity of her own senses. The poor woman starts crying out of frustration and fear. Heidi witnesses her mother's distress, but Lisa reassures her that it's nothing to worry about. She tells Heidi to go to her aunt, promising to rejoin her later to tuck her in bed. Heidi's curiosity persists, and she turns to her Aunt Joyce to seek answers about her mother's tears. Joyce imparts a family secret, revealing that the women in their lineage possess a unique gift, an ethereal veil that grants them a heightened sensitivity to the unseen world. It allows them to perceive things beyond ordinary perception. Heidi, surprisingly calm, confides that she, too, has started to experience visions. She then asks why her mother never told her about it. Her aunt sighs and tells her that her mother does not like the gift, so they should keep this conversation a secret between them. Heidi smiles and agrees to do that. The next day, as Lisa grapples with more visions of her late mother, her inner world is disrupted by Andy's arrival. He expresses concern that her medication might not be effective, but Lisa reassures him that it does work. It's just that things get a bit tricky when the effect of the medication wears off. Later in the day, Heidi goes to play outside with her bike. However, her progress is thwarted when she encounters a vision of a woman in the woods, causing her to lose control of her bicycle. The poor girl falls down. Suddenly, the mysterious man in the coat reappears before her. An hour passes, and Joyce comes across Heidi's abandoned bike while driving home. She returns with it to find Lisa filled with worry. Her sister expresses her concerns about Heidi's hour-long absence. In an attempt to comfort Lisa, Joyce says that the little girl is just wandering around. Before Lisa can get too worried, Heidi finally emerges and shares a revelation. She explains that she met an elderly man nearby named Mr. Gordy, who informed her about a swing set in the woods, the same swing that she saw in her dreams. Worried, they call Andy back home. Together, the group ventures into the woods to investigate and discovers a weathered swing set hanging from a tree, confirming Heidi's vision. To add an intriguing layer, Heidi also mentions that Mr. Gordy divulged information about buried money in the garden. In response, Lisa advises Heidi to call out if Mr. Gordy appears again. That evening, while attending to the dishes, Lisa is confronted with yet another haunting vision. The bulb overhead keeps flickering. All of a sudden, she is startled by something in the mirror. It vanishes abruptly, leaving her unsettled. She takes a pill to regain her composure. But then, after sensing an unwelcome presence in the room with her, she restlessly searches the house and finds Heidi conversing with Mr. Gordy at her window. Although Lisa sees no one there, she sternly instructs her daughter to cease discussing Mr. Gordy. After putting Heidi to sleep, she goes out looking for the missing duo. Her search leads her outside, where she discovers Andy and Joyce, engrossed in digging up an old box filled with ancient coins from the garden. Turns out Mr. Gordy was not lying when he said there is money buried in the garden. Back inside, she remembers her mother's voice telling her to let them in. Disturbed by the growing intensity of these occurrences and the persistent voices in her head, Lisa steps outside, hoping to find some solace in reflection. Instead, she is greeted by yet another vision, this time of a man approaching her. In a startling turn of events, right after she opens her eyes, a charred corpse materializes right before her. The woman gasps in utter shock and hastily retreats back indoors. The following day, after a shopping trip funded by Mr. Gordy's mysterious money, Joyce shows Lisa the deed to their home, proving that the bank did not always hold ownership. Astonishingly, the Gordy family owned the land 2 centuries ago, until the bank acquired it in the 1970s. This revelation lends credibility to Heidi's supposed imaginary friend. In an attempt to unravel the mystery further, they ask Heidi to select a man from a series of photographs. Her once smiling face turns solemn as she points to Mr. Gordy's picture. Yet, Lisa remains skeptical, refusing to accept that Heidi might be communicating with the deceased. In contrast, Joyce contends that Heidi may possess the same gift or perhaps burden, according to Lisa, that has plagued their family for generations. Later that night, Lisa attempts to initiate a conversation with her daughter, who pretends to be asleep until her mother departs. As the days roll on, tensions within the household escalate. In the month of July, an unexpected visitor arrives, a town pastor who brings with him the history of their house. He reveals that during the Civil War, a station master owned their land, which was an integral part of the Underground Railroad. This courageous individual assisted in the passage of hundreds of enslaved people who traversed their property, earning him local hero status. The pastor advises the family not to be surprised if they receive occasional visitors and encourages them to extend hospitality to those who come. This is in contrast to the previous owner, Mr. Gordy, who was known for his inhospitable nature toward visitors on his land. However, Heidi's assertion that Mr. Gordy is kind to her leaves the pastor understandably perplexed. As night falls once more, Joyce steps out to collect the dry laundry from the racks. While she is at it, her ears catch the sound of distant singing and the glow of a lantern in the distance. Curiosity piqued, she follows the eerie light, which leads her to a quilt hanging from a tree branch, crowned by the lantern. Right after she reaches the spot, the lantern light goes out. Mysterious voices continue to fill the air, and all of a sudden a vision of her mother beckons to her. Overwhelmed, Joyce dashes through the woods. Meanwhile, back in her room, Heidi is being persistently watched by a spirit in her sleep. She restlessly moves about the bed as a strange voice calls out to her for help. The following day, Heidi goes out for a walk in the woods, where Mr. Gordy makes a startling appearance right before her. Strange noises emanate from the woods, and she asks the man what they are. Andy observes his daughter engaged in an unusual conversation, unable to see Mr. Gordy himself. He approaches her daughter and takes her back home, where Heidi's distraction is momentarily lifted when her father surprises her with a new beautiful dog named Coach. Later in the day, the dog's frantic barking draws attention as it reacts to peculiar sounds in the vicinity. Before long, Andy and Heidi discover the dog is missing, but they can hear its agonized cries from the woods. They venture into the forest, following the sound. Andy asks his daughter to stay near the entrance of the woods, while he goes towards the dog's pain growls, only to find the poor dog caught in a wooden trap. As Andy works to free the distressed animal, Heidi is once again drawn to the mysterious voices calling out to her. The dog makes a hasty escape once released, while Heidi continues to heed the ethereal voices, leading her to an enigmatic sight, a swing set that swings by itself, without a soul to be seen. Heidi's vision takes a dark turn as she witnesses a spirit swinging alone, and another figure with a sack over their head from the tree. Overwhelmed with fear, she screams and retreats, bumping into her father. Andy, bewildered by his daughter's tears, attempts to comfort her but is mystified when he notices the chain of the swing set moving of its own accord. Returning Heidi safely home, Andy retrieves the trap from the woods, explaining its purpose to Lisa. It's a cunning device designed to lure animals inside, and the only escape is through the back, an ingenious trap for a taxidermist indeed. As the day fades into night, Lisa awakens from a nightmare with her mother's image lingering in her dream, whispering the same cryptic message to let them in. This refers to the spirits she has been encountering lately. All of a sudden, a ghostly figure of a former slave materializes before her. She gasps and the apparition vanishes as soon as it appears. Andy stirs from Lisa's restlessness and the scared woman moves closer to him, attempting to comfort herself. The following day, while removing the remaining traps in the woods, Andy is taken aback when he spots his daughter engaged in conversation with Mr. Gordy. The spirit warns Heidi of impending visitors, and their attention is drawn to eerie noises nearby. Cautiously, they trace the sounds to the charred remnants of the former station master's cabin. Here, they encounter an elderly woman and her grandson holding a worn-out quilt. Turns out, Joyce was the one who orchestrated this meeting and has allowed them to visit the place. The grandson reveals important information about the place's history to Andy. He explains that the quilt they possess served as a guide for escaped slaves, indicating that the woods, one of the Underground Railroad stations, was a safe haven. He further tells him how the station master was an angel and didn't deserve what happened to him, filling in the gaps left by the pastor's previous account. After bidding farewell to their unexpected guests, Andy calls for an impromptu family meeting to share the newfound knowledge. He confides in Lisa and Joyce about the revelations provided by the grandson. Later in the day, Heidi insists on understanding the history of their property, prompting Lisa to reluctantly reveal a chilling truth. The station master, it turns out, was a taxidermist who helped the ancestors of the visitors they had met. He would meet with them beneath the very tree where the swing set now helped them flee. However, their history took a dark turn when other landowners discovered the station master's deed of helping the oppressed flee. They attacked the poor man brutally, him at that same tree. Meanwhile, what happened to Nell and Levy, whom the station master was supposed to help, remains a mystery. In light of this grim history, Heidi pleads with her mother to acknowledge her visions and the looming threat concealed in the woods. She says that it is coming after her. Despite her daughter's pleas, Lisa continues to dismiss her claims, insisting that it's all in her head and cautioning her against succumbing to the same fate. Upset at Heidi, Lisa leaves the bathroom. When her daughter takes longer than usual, she returns to the bathroom. To her horror, she discovers her daughter unconscious in the tub. Acting swiftly, Lisa pulls Heidi out of the water, aiding her in expelling the swallowed liquid. However, what follows is deeply unsettling and nightmarish as Heidi vomits a strange concoction of sawdust, insects, and maggots. Sometimes later, Andy arrives at the hospital, finding his family in distress. As Lisa recounts the bizarre incident involving the bathtub, the doctor expresses skepticism regarding her claims of sawdust and insects. Instead, the doctor turns to Heidi for her version of the events. Heidi explains that her mother had pulled her out of the tub when she hadn't followed the instructions to dry off properly. Lisa attempts to defend herself, but the doctor suggests seeking consultation from either a psychiatrist or a priest, dismissing the extraordinary circumstances. Left alone with her mother, Heidi asks her mother how it feels when people doubt her. Turns out, the little girl willfully lied in order to make her mother understand her pain of not being trusted. Back at home, they decide to take proactive measures and join the pastor in blessing the property, accompanied by the hope that it will bring them some respite. However, during the blessing, Joyce experiences chilling visions of deceased spirits running around, and a haunting transformation of Heidi into a lifeless figure. The visions cease as the blessing concludes, but Joyce is left deeply shaken by the disturbing images she has witnessed. Later that night, Heidi's visions continue as she sees a spectral slave playing the piano. Intrigued, she follows the apparition into the dark depths of the woods, venturing into the unknown. Soon after, Lisa is jolted awake by a haunting dream of enslaved individuals and her daughter lying unconscious on a table. In the dream, she finds herself lying beside a skeleton. This nightmarish vision shakes her to her core. As she wakes from this unsettling dream, her attention is drawn to her husband, who is grabbing his gun in a state of urgency, realizing that their daughter is missing. In a panic, Lisa dials the emergency number, summoning the help of the local police, while Andy ventures into the foreboding woods in search of Heidi. Guided by the distressing sound of his daughter's screams, he reaches the burnt-down cabin and stumbles upon a secret door set into the ground. He hears his daughter's pleas for help coming from down there. The man quickly removes the door and, much to his relief, finds his daughter crying there. As Andy searches for something to reach Heidi, a growing sense of unease envelops the girl. She pleads with her father not to leave her alone with the mysterious spirits that seem to inhabit this eerie place. Andy discovers an old set of stairs while Heidi's fear deepens. She perceives a lurking figure concealed in the shadows. Heidi's terror intensifies as she witnesses more spectral apparitions. Her fear escalates as she hears someone or something calling out to her. With caution, Andy hangs the stairs onto the rusty hooks, but the weight proves too much, causing them to break accidentally. He falls down in the hole and turns on his flashlight to find his daughter trembling in a corner. In her moment of distress, Heidi rushes to her father's side in fear, while Andy makes a grim discovery. It becomes clear that this underground chamber is where the station master concealed escaped slave. As he examines the walls, Andy finds the carved names of Nell and Levy, ancestors of the visitors they had met earlier. Confounded by the situation, Andy questions how Heidi found her way into this hidden place. She tells him that the girl showed her. Then, she points to a corner, where Andy's shock deepens as he uncovers lifeless bodies, unveiling a chilling chapter of history hidden beneath their property. Moments after their grim discovery, the family watches the news report, revealing that the remains of at least 5 men have been uncovered in the underground chamber beneath the cabin's ruins. These unfortunate souls had been left to perish there. After the station master's lynching by local landowners, a haunting revelation sends shivers down their spines. In an attempt to console Heidi, Joyce explains that her visions may have been the result of the enslaved individuals yearning to be found, and now that the truth has come to light, her visions might come to an end. In a sense, she helped those poor souls. However, Heidi counters with a disconcerting revelation. According to Mr. Gordy, she had inadvertently unleashed something terrible when she ventured into the underground chamber. Mr. Gordy warned her that the station master was not a benevolent figure, and now that he's free, a malevolent force might be coming for them. Lisa continues to discourage Heidi, but Andy interjects, pointing out that for something that's supposedly in Heidi's head, Mr. Gordy has been startlingly accurate about everything related to their property. Fearing the potential danger, Andy expresses a strong desire to leave as soon as possible, unwilling to wait around for any potential malevolent presence. Lisa sighs in exasperation and goes out of the room. This woman can see spirits herself, yet she refuses to believe the truth before her. Later, Lisa sees Andy packing. In a heated discussion, Lisa argues that their daughter may have inherited a mental illness. However, Andy counters by noting that Heidi emerged from the underground chamber unscathed, and questions whether Joyce might be right. The mysterious veil that enables them to see these spirits might not be a curse, but rather a unique gift, one that has now unveiled the unsettling truth lurking on their property. The next day, as the family hastily packs up to leave, the eerie events continue to unfold. Heidi catches sight of Mr. Gordy gazing intently at Joyce's trailer. Suddenly, Their dog starts barking and then darts into the woods, prompting Andy to leave Heidi in the car and rush after their pet. Alone in the car, Heidi locks the doors when the radio inexplicably turns on, and a ghostly voice reaches out to her from the beyond, sending shivers down her spine. Meanwhile, back in her trailer, Joyce witnesses a ghost couple fixated on something, compelling her to investigate further. To her dismay, she encounters a menacing figure with a sack over his head, unmistakably the station master. The menacing ghost seems to be going towards Heidi. She distracts him, leading him away from the girl. As the evil entity comes towards her, the woman quickly gets inside her trailer and secures the doors. The station master, however, rattles the trailer before vanishing into thin air. Desperate to reach out for help, Joyce tries to call Lisa. But to her horror, before the call can go through, Lisa disconnects the phone and places it inside a box. The station master returns, launching a chilling attack on Joyce. The woman starts throwing up blood mixed with needles and thread. Horrifyingly, grotesque stitches start to appear on her stomach. On the other side, Heidi, paralyzed with fear, is left to confront the malevolent figure on her own. Back in the kitchen, as Lisa continues packing, she experiences a vision of a man in a conductor's suit directing her towards the truck. When she checks the truck, all she finds inside is sawdust and swarming insects. Heidi is gone. Panic sets in, and Lisa rushes to Joyce's trailer in search of her daughter. Andy also arrives and quickly drives the truck in search of Heidi. However, his path takes a harrowing turn when he encounters the apparition, causing him to crash into a tree. On the other side, amidst the horrifying chaos, Lisa stumbles upon her sister, Joyce, suspended from the ceiling by threads emanating from her mouth. Fueled by terror, Lisa courageously cuts the threads, causing Joyce to cough up sawdust. Although Lisa sees her sister's ghastly appearance, she chooses not to take her pills, driven by a newfound determination. Joyce informs her that they know where Heidi is, pointing to the ghost standing beside them. Lisa follows the poor ghosts they had seen earlier. All of them look oppressed, as if they had been tortured, and they are eager to help her out. They lead her to the underground chamber, where she painfully looks for Heidi, but to no avail. As Lisa explores further, she discovers a hidden room. Lisa quickly stumbles inside and trips. The lantern in her hand falls down, setting the cavern ablaze. Amidst the chaos, Lisa navigates the fiery cavern in search of Heidi and stumbles upon a grim revelation. It becomes horrifyingly clear that the station master practiced only on animals, but on humans as well, using enslaved individuals and desperate souls seeking freedom as his morbid subjects. Lisa encounters the remains of Nell and Levy along with a dozen others, but is drawn away when she hears Heidi calling for her. Heidi is bound in a corner, relief washing over her. Lisa quickly frees her daughter and looks for a way to escape. Turning around, she finds that they cannot go the same way she came because it is now engulfed in flames. Luckily, she finds a small hole peeking from overhead. Using the handle of a shotgun, Lisa digs the hole and then she aids Heidi in climbing out of the hole. However, as it becomes her turn to ascend, the station master suddenly seizes her. Lisa turns around in terror, only to be confronted by the apparition of her late mother. In a profound moment of realization, Lisa comprehends that the bodies she found were the unfortunate victims of the station master's macabre taxidermy pursuits. Trapped in the cavern, they had met their tragic end after he was lynched by local landowners. With newfound strength and the encouragement of her mother, Lisa fully embraces her unique veil gift and joins the enslaved souls in seeking vengeance. After she finally lets the spirits in, Lisa boldly confronts the station master, who now faces the wrath of the very individuals he had imprisoned and slaughtered to fulfill his gruesome passion. Lisa watches as the spirits attack the station master and take the evil man down into the abyss. She tries to scramble out through the hole, and suddenly, someone pulls her out. Outside, she rushes to her daughter and finds out that it was Mr. Gordy who pulled them out. Just then, they spot Mr. Gordy standing beneath the tree, smiling at the mother and daughter. Shortly after, Andy rejoins them, unable to see Mr. Gordy but sensing his presence nonetheless. 2 weeks later, Joyce playfully teases Andy, who struggles to fix the swing set for Heidi. At that moment, it dawns on both Joyce and Lisa why Mr. Gordy had been so inhospitable to visitors on his land. He had uncovered the horrifying truth about his own grandfather, the very station master responsible for the atrocities committed against the enslaved people. Meanwhile, Heidi continues her efforts to learn how to ride a bike in the woods, where she is aided by the spectral figure of Mr. Gordy. As Heidi pedals forward, she witnesses the once enslaved individuals now appearing happy and free. The film concludes with a series of pictures, revealing Mr. Gordy and the real family who once inhabited the property. They stayed in the house for 5 years, during which Mr. Gordy mysteriously vanished. Lisa also eventually ceased taking the pills she had relied upon since the fateful incident.